Welcome to another episode of Maestro Speaks podcast.
The equivalent of love is forgiveness.
Mhm.
You cannot love without forgiveness.
Lumabalin ka iti yung generation anda kumamot nga mapasaran.
Naibag nga morning mo ako El Maestro.
Tanya deh kung nanay tayo may isa.
I-appeal mo.
Buhay na.
Apil ko man kada gitu ko. Pipi ako man pilit ganun tutok na.
Di pa nag-approach mo rin?
Amo pa.
Approach?
Ita. Nang nangag ko nga ibagbagan ka lang ni Lola kiti.
You better know the substance of the law.
Bayaw mo nang ibagas ni Manong.
And who cares if people have dark skin, right?
Kaanakan iti with expiration.
You find any inspiration in this, we have done, and you have done your noble part.
Maestro Speaks podcast.
And 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Wait for a minute. I need to check. Okay. So, Maestro Speaks podcast number 100. Wow. I, I'm so happy. I was actually reserving the 100th episode so I can have it with my friends, but then time does not permit. And looking at the last time that I uploaded the last episode, it's like a month ago. So I decided to go with this, and I'd be playing question and answer with myself about this podcast. So funny thing, I actually just recorded this one here. I recorded it already, but when I was reviewing it, I had no audio at all. This is, yeah. I'm already in my 100th episode. I'm already in my 100th episode. I'm still having this types of, hang-ups. What do you call this one? It's technical difficulties. So you have to understand that I am the one recording it and monitoring it if the recording is going good. So it's still a one-man's show. So I have to do this again. So this is the second time I'll be doing this. So I have to boil some water and have my coffee because I'm recording this at this one is 11:54 of October 15th, and 11:54 of midnight, and I just want to log this in so we can finish it. And anyway, just to have the 100th episode. Oh my God, 100 episodes since 2014 or 15. I don't know. It's 14. I guess it's in 2014 that I started the first one. But the first one is I think uploaded in a Facebook page. Forgive me if you can see. If for those who are watching, you can see me drinking coffee. For those who are listening, you can just hear the, the the sips, the sound of the coffee. I've uploaded this one. I mean, I started it back in 2014, I guess. That's the first time I recorded. And that's the first time I think that Facebook came out with the Facebook page, because I remember back then I was teaching in a private school. Back then they only have the Facebook group, and then a Facebook group you can tweak it in the settings so that only the groups can see it. Until now we still have a group, right? Only the groups can see it, and you can tweak it also to become a public group, so to speak. It's like a Facebook page. Now at that time they came up with the Facebook page, and I created one. um my name during that time was El Maestro Speaks on the Facebook, so I just put it El Maestro Speaks like that. And I didn't give any thought of. I didn't give any thought on the name, mind you. There's no brainstorming to come up with this name. Just write it like that, and I'm done. And I have that drawing of the microphone. I did that one. Until now, I'm using. I don't know. Am I still using that one? I think I'm not using it anymore. I have that drawing of the microphone of the old like 1950s microphone. So I already have an idea of what a podcast is back then. I back when I was teaching in an English institute in here. Let's just name it the Monol International English Institute back then. I don't know the name now. In 2010, I came up with. I mean, I encountered a podcast thing. So first listened to it and I said, "Oh, it's like a radio program, but it is based in the internet. You don't have a frequency to where you can broadcast your program. It's just like your frequency is your internet, right? And it's good. I like it because if you already recorded it and then you send it into the internet, then it's gonna be there forever. Like it's gonna stay there as compared to the radio, wherein if you miss the time slot, then you miss the program. Not unless you recorded it. So uh, I view it as a radio program in the internet back then. Um, so the first one I think I encountered is the one I think who is doing it back then. A comedian. I forgot the name. I forget the name of the comedian, but he is very close to Joe Rogan as well. Oh, I forgot the name. He's doing a web show back then. They call it a web show. Anyway, so that's how I encountered the podcast. The first one I did, the Maestro Speaks episode was one, I think, until the 30s and 20s, episode 20s. Technically, are not podcast in a sense that they are not uploaded in a podcast hosting site like Spotify or SoundCloud or Podbay or Apple Podcast. They were not uploaded there. They were uploaded in the Facebook page. So the first ones were uploaded in the Facebook page, and it has no. So to call it a podcast, it should have the RSS feeds that will be used by the podcast hosting site to distribute it. And I don't have that back then. It's just like a video and just uploaded it there, and then sooner I uploaded it in YouTube. Now, basically, the reason why I call it a podcast is that at times I'm just recording my thoughts. It's an audio file, so I record my thoughts there. Or like I said a while ago, is that I mean on my first paragraph episode is that about researches, about teaching, my opinions about teaching, things like that, and anything under the sun, and then I will be posting it there. So what I did back then is I will record the audio, and then because I cannot upload audio back in the day, I cannot upload audio in a Facebook page back then. So what I did was I upload the audio and then put it in a video editor, and then put some pictures there. Pictures. Sometimes the pictures are not really related, just to make it to create it as a video, and that's it. I just uploaded it there, and those are my podcasts. And that's what I did back then. And the things that I use back then, I'm using a 5,000 peso smartphone. What was the brand? Cherry Mobile. Yeah, yeah, we can tell the brand. Anyway, we bought it. You know, I'm using a Cherry Mobile phone. It's cheap. It's 5,000 peso. Oh, and then a laptop, an entry level laptop with 2 gigabyte RAM. I'm using an editor, a video editor, Corel video editor back then, and you know, so if you can see the thing there is because the quality of the output of those cheap things cheap gadgets that I'm using is not that good. I have to do some workarounds. I don't have a microphone back then. I just record using the microphone, the headset, things like that. Um, my my belief back then is why buy a branded phone when you can have the same hardware specification with the cheap ones. Um, Now, of course, that was changed. Of course, there are some qualities that those branded gadgets will offer, especially if you're creating this videos and the likes. So back then, those ones, you can see my videos back then. It's not that good. The quality is not that good. Until now, I'm using cell phones, so you can include that on the things that did not change uh, from episode 1 of this podcast until episode 100. The thing that did not change, the camera you're using for this thing here is cell phone's camera. Starting from starting on 2014 up until now, you're still using cell phone camera. That's funny. Yeah. Well, the camera, I mean, the cell phone that I'm using now is not 5,000 pesos cell phone. It's 5,999 peso cell phone. Yeah. So there's that 999 difference. Yeah. So let's just play a quick Q&A with myself here. So that's how I started this one. I started it as a depository of thoughts, let's say. And then as time goes by, I think around episode 10, something like that, or I don't know, I don't remember anymore. I started to upload it also in YouTube. So that's that. So now from Facebook page to YouTube, I had a decision back then to upload it in YouTube and Facebook at the same time. But then, the data, the cost of data of uploading videos in YouTube and then Facebook is costly. That is why I think I opted to just upload most of it in YouTube and then share the link in the Facebook page. So that's what I did back then. And then I changed again and then uploaded the videos again, both on both sites, Facebook page and the YouTube's site. And then kind of stopped it again. And then so it's messy. The way I handle this podcast is so messy. And it's like a trial and error thing because I just look how others are handling their podcast, and I even started earlier than the popular podcast now in the Philippines, as hosted in Spotify. Also, the Morning with Jim and Sab. I started earlier than them. Anyway, uh, but then the thing is that they started immediately using Spotify. I did not. I kind of scattered my podcast all throughout the platform, and then so after that one, I I got the I started learning the ins and outs of having Spotify. So that's how I came and had my podcast in Spotify. And I like it. I like it better when it's in Spotify. You can officially call it podcast because it has the RSS feeds. Technically, yeah, you cannot call those ones that I started as a podcast, but it is in a way And it is because their podcast, because my thought while I'm creating that is that they are a podcast. They are never a vlog. Though I also have some vlogs in my YouTube channel. So again, my YouTube channel is also a mess. Same name here. But then, yeah, I have to learn how to separate the videos that are not a podcast and the videos that are podcast. And then it's so good now that there's this playlist when you're making your playlist in YouTube, and there's that option wherein you can label your playlist as a podcast, and they will make it a podcast. I think it will appear in YouTube Music, so to speak, like that, something like that. So, yeah, the content, my content went back when I was beginning from 2016 up until 2021, 21, I guess, is so messy. But then still, I struggle to create contents in a way, create podcast, and yeah, that's the reason why it took that long to reach the 100th episode. Just imagine from 2014 up to 2022, 23. Yeah, it took that long for me to reach the 100th episode. Um, so again, the start of this podcast is no specific objective of what am I going to do with this. It's just like a journal that is recorded, not written. And then here come the idea of why not talk to people. And I think the first one I did was with my friend, a co-teacher back in a private school, where we talked about coaching. And then I started uh, thinking, oh, why not do it like a conversation with, and then just comparing it. So you can see I copied some podcast format, like the very popular one, the Joe Rogan podcast experience. Like I encountered them way before, um, when they're just friends making, like they're just telling stories. They're telling stories a lot of things that I cannot relate to because I'm not living in the country. And one of the podcasts also that inspired me is, in terms of seriousness and in terms of um laying it down so that it would appear as a formal podcast, is the podcast of Tim Ferriss. Tim Ferriss's podcast is focused on like a, how do you call it one, a shortcut or a hack of learning things, and the hack of getting better. And the format is so like, it is well planned, well thought of, that I like to follow that kind of format, but again, in a way that um it is light-hearted, like not so light-hearted like the Joe Rogan podcast experience, wherein it's really just like a recording of people telling stories to each other. Not that light-hearted, but it's, I like to have that balance of, it's pre-planned and it's light-hearted. I don't know if I achieved that. But then that's what I started to think back then. So I started with the we I think we did the first one in the car. In a car, we just placed the video camera, and then we talked about coaching, things like that, how it's difficult when in the school where we're in, and how other teachers do not understand the importance of sports. I think that we were talking about that. And then yeah, that's it. And then the other episodes are just um me talking about things, my understanding of the issues like that. So that's it. That's how I started it. And then I transferred I resigned from my work as a private school teacher and then transferred to my hometown. That affected the regularity of me creating the podcast. I don't have time, and then I cannot. I don't know. During that time, the time that I was in the private school, um, and compared to the time that I went to the public school, if I'm looking at it in the confidence level of me, or my confidence level, was that I am more confident, I guess, when I was in the private school than when I transferred to the public school. I don't know. I became more shy when I went to the public school. I don't know. I don't know if it has something to do with the place and the or the culture of the people that you um you encounter. Because maybe when I went back to my hometown, I became more shy, more. I it's like I lost the confidence that I had back when I was in the private school, and maybe some of the reason is that I met some people there in my hometown who are actually so intelligent, but they are so shy. This so shy also. They're very intelligent people, very intelligent teachers, but shy at the same time. They won't show. They won't show their intelligence. They are they are competitive in a sense, in a way, but so shy that I think that that reduced my confidence in myself because I know that they're more intelligent than me, and yet here they are so humble. So I think that chipped the confidence that I had in myself. And that thing also affected the way I create my content. I'm a little bit shy now to create content. During that time, a little bit shy to create content. I cannot. I mean, the first thing that I'm thinking is that, oh my goodness, it's so embarrassing. What if I'm gonna make a mistake here and they're gonna be laughing at me, things like that. I started to think that and this one, I'm sorry, this one, I never thought of those when I was in the private schools. That's that was weird. Yeah, it's weird that I think of that yeah, when I went back to my hometown. But back in the private school, I don't have that kind of thinking. And yeah, just before I continue, the reason I'm doing this, especially if I'm doing a solo podcast, I one of the reason also I had this podcast is that I want to improve my English. I want this podcast to help me reduce my accent, you know. I don't know if it helped, but I think yeah, I want the podcast to help me reduce my accent and to help me speak in English while on the move. I mean, while um, what they call the one speaking English like it's a regular conversation without any script at all. So yeah, so that's the reason why I use English language as the language for the podcast, especially if I'm doing solo. And going back to what was that? Yeah, that affected my content creation or podcast recording. At the same time, I I am writing on a column back then, whereas a small newspaper here in Baguio City, and I don't have enough time. You add the burden of being a teacher in a public school, wherein I did not expect you'd be working a lot of paperworks and teaching at the same time. So yeah, that got my time. Didn't have enough time to create and search for contents. That is the reason why it took me like 2014, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 9 years. Oh my God, it's like 10 per episode. Took me 9 years to reach 100 episode. Wow, now I understand why. Oh yeah, yeah. I didn't. Yeah, it took us 9 years to create them. Oh, there's a question here. What happened to the other episode? It's not found in Spotify. On the other episode is not found in Spotify, it can be found in YouTube, and some of them are best consumed as a video content. The others are not, can be listened to, and the reason why I did not upload them in this in Spotify is that I find it crappy. Yeah. Well, we improve as we go. This is like for me, this is like a trial and error thing. So as you can see, yeah, it's a trial and error thing. Starting from the first one until going up, it's trial and error thing. So uh, I did not. I decided not to upload those ones, and maybe in the future, if I change my mind, I will be uploading it. But I think you can find it in the YouTube channel if you want to find it there. Yeah, I'm still cannot get over the fact that I am supposed to be finished recording now if I checked on the audio. You know, I've been talking for an hour a while back, and yeah, I cannot get over the fact that ah, I'm already in the 100th episode. I still forget those simple things, And this is a podcast. The audio is the most important one here, but it's the number one thing that I forgot. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, the format. Anyway, the format of this podcast, I don't have a certain format, but then, yeah, I'm aiming it to be like a Tim Ferriss's show with the Joe Rogan show mixed in between, including Lex Friedman show. That's the accent that I want to reduce. Friedman show. Lex Friedman is an MIT. How do you call that one? He's a computer programmer. Um, he's a geek. He's a computer programmer working on some AI, and he also have a podcast, and I like listening to his podcast. Mm, the format I don't have, but as it evolved into this. It evolved into having a conversation, and then having that history of the unheard of history. I like delving on that one. Unheard history of the Igorot nation, as I call it, or Igorot people. And when you say unheard of, it is not discussed in our textbooks, like the ones wherein Igorots were really not conquered by the Spanish for 300 years. They had a hard time conquering the Cordillera region. Um, the reason of the headhunting, things like that, and the unheard of um, history of the Igorot with the neighboring people in the lowlands. Like we didn't know, but during the pre-Hispanic era or during a pre-Hispanic time, the Igorots or the people from the mountain and the people from the lowlands know each other. They trade, they intermarry, and they understand each other's language. The separation, because we have what we're calling regionalism right now, wherein people in the highlands are barbaric as viewed by the people in the lowlands, and the people in the lowlands are like this and like that as viewed by the people in the highlands. Regionalism. And a long time ago, they don't have that. Uh, when the Spaniards tried to Christianize the Filipinos in the lowlands, those people in the lowlands that did not like the idea of Christianism or Christianity went up to the highlands, and they were warmly welcomed by the highlands, by the highlanders, and they stayed in the highlands. So there was a history of the relationship between the Igorots and the people in the lowlands. Now, of course, the sources that I have was written by William Henry Scott. I have those ones. I also talked about the um the houses of the Igorot people back then, wherein there are some accounts of a house made of stone that is so big it can fit like 30 people. That 30 people can stay inside, something like that. There's and then it became it I mean it evolved. I mean it devolved into this little house that we know today. And maybe the reason back then was because the eagles are continuously, or the village of the eagles are continuously being attacked by the Spaniards. That's why the architecture or the ways of people, the way on how people build their house devolve into something like that, wherein they can easily get away. I mean, they can easily build it, and then they can easily leave it if something happened. And I think that is a sound theory if you're going to ask me. And I talked about that in my podcast also. I also talked about um anything about the COVID-19 back then, the announcement, and also the uh, current events, current events. But the thing about current events is I cannot how can I say this? I cannot give an opinion unfiltered. I cannot give an unfiltered or a frank opinion on something. In short, I am self-censoring my. I am self-censoring. Yeah, for the reason that the nature of my job, we are being viewed as um molders of minds, teachers, molders of minds, um bearer of morality at times. It's not even we're not even allowed to curse, right? Because yeah, and I'm not even allowed. I am censoring myself not to curse. I curse sometimes, but I'm not even allowed to curse in my podcast because I know that some of my students are watching this, and yeah, you know already. So at times I cannot give uh, an opinion that is straight or frank opinion because of that. The thing is, but that thing helped me, doing that in this podcast helped me because it helped me, it pushed me, or it taught me to, you know, create, devise a way to present your opinion or present your reflection, your view on a matter that is not offensive to other people, or that is palatable in a way, so that you will not be offending anyone. But of course, we're just human. Sometimes we make mistakes. And then the third um, kind of the or format of this podcast is conversation. And the conversation is the one that I like the most because in the conversation is the one wherein I can learn a lot of things. I can I can ask questions to people, and you know, uh, just to satisfy my curiosity about them. Uh, do I have a prepared question for this? Mostly no. I don't know if that's my laziness or, but I do not prepare any question. It's really a conversation. It's really a conversation that of me asking questions, of me. I mean, is so you can see also me sharing things about the topic that we're talking about. Uh, it's just a conversation with them. Um, I only have few questions there, but I will try to weave it along with the conversation, so it would not look as if it's an interview, it's a TV interview. No, I don't like it to feel that way. Um, I want the guest to be, to relax, feel at ease, and have so that the conversations flow is very nice. So, so the question that I would be having only is that the principle in life that they follow, like a formula for success, something like that, and then advices that they can give to people listening that wants to do what my guest is doing, or this that thing. Mostly, those are the only questions that I have, apart from the others. uh, I don't have a time limit for this because conversations don't have time limits. Not unless, of course, we don't. I don't want to. I don't want to get all the time from my guests. So yeah, limit it to 1 hour, 2 hours, something like that. But usually the format is when I have a guest, there's no time limit, and that's one of the advantage I like about podcasting. There's no set time format. I mean, no set. I mean, time limit. You can have the longest podcast that you want, and nobody cares about it. You know. So that's what I really like about that one. And what else do I have a question here? Yeah. So first conversation, I think, yes, or mainly you say interview is that the one I had with Murphy, yeah, inside his car. And then the next one is with John Irvin Kissing. And we recorded that one. I recorded it using my uh what do you call it? They call it in America a burner phone, a keypad phone. I recorded using that one, and then uploaded it in Facebook, put some pictures in it so I can upload it as a video. So what are the changes? We're starting from episode 1 until now. Well, um, I don't know. Yeah, aside from the fact that, like what I said a while back, now I'm using a phone, a 5,999 phone, as compared to the one I'm using back then, which is a 5,000 peso phone. Oh, the sponsors, yeah. Spotify, I don't know. I don't know, but maybe some bigger podcasts in Manila have um, monetized their podcast already, but in Spotify, monetization of podcast here in the Philippines is not available. That is why really had to go on my way, get some sponsors. Uh, the very first one I had are my family, most of it maybe. So yeah, this one here. What is this? Cyberspace Tech is my brother, who is a computer programmer, and yeah, he's the first sponsor. The second one is, yeah, my brother again, another brother, not the same brother, a different brother, um, who is also is working in a company in our hometown and has a poultry business. So that's the one. And of course, we have Carl Tech here in La Trinidad, a cell phone repair shop, and a Millennial Tech cell phone repair shop also in Batan Bugias, and Dems Auto Performance is a car or auto mechanic shop. Yeah, so those ones, those are one of the changes, or let's say I would say improvement. Uh, So the sponsorship is just like $8 per episode. Yeah, it's just that $8 per episode. And yeah, I'm very thankful with I'm very thankful to these people for like putting their belief or their faith in this podcast here. Um, Podcasting here in Baguio is not that popular, so maybe Al Maestro Speaks podcast is not really popular here in Benguet or in the Cordillera in general. Um, Podcasting maybe did not is not yet or did not yet reach its peak in the Philippines. Maybe it's already um, popular in Manila because I am seeing a lot of podcasts done by uh, media personalities, and some rappers, comedians based in Manila. But podcast in the outskirts of Manila is not really that popular. What's popular, especially here in Baguio and Benguet, are Facebook content like vlogs, Facebook vlogs. YouTube is not even popular here in Baguio. Yeah, what is popular here is really Facebook contents. So Facebook memes, um, Facebook shows. There are some people here making their Facebook shows, um, popular ones. I even know one, a politician here in Baguio who took off his program in a radio station and started publishing it in Facebook as a Facebook show. So yeah, that's how popular Facebook is in Baguio. So they broadcast it live, and then people will follow, message them in the comment section. Uh, uh, Podcast not really a thing here, so maybe it's coming. It's becoming a thing sooner or later. Maybe it will become a thing after we publish our 200th episode. So that's another 9 years. I'm hoping we will not reach 9 years just to publish the 200th episode. Yeah. So maybe in 2 years. Anyway, so podcasting is really not a thing here. So what I do for them to notice the podcast is Facebook Reels, and then just put the link of the podcast in the Spotify link in the description, and that's how I get this podcast noticed. And of course, just to at least plug my sponsors here. That's because these guys have been doing a lot to you know help me in my podcast. So um those ones are the improvements. Uh, Things that didn't change, like I said, the one, of course, is that I'm using the phone as a camera until now. Back then, I'm using a phone. Until now, I'm using a phone. The things that changed, though, that improved, is that the software. I encountered softwares that I can use to record this one, so that you see, while I'm doing this thing here, I have the video for those who are watching it in YouTube, and then of course the recorded voice, and at the same time I have the sponsors around surrounding me, and that is being recorded at the same time. Yeah, I don't need to post edit it, so it's already like that. It's recorded like that. So yeah, those are the improvements. mm, Improvements on the audio. I have mics now. Back then, yeah, yeah, those are the improvements there, the little improvements. Well, things that stayed the same, I'm still the one doing it. I don't have a technician with me. I'm the one doing it. I'm the one framing the camera. So I have to set this up. I have to set a lot of things before I can record. And framings, I have to frame the camera to look, like this. And at times, if you're a one-man show, you'd be doing a lot of mistakes. There was this one, and that's one is I think one of the worst mistake I did. I had a podcast with Honorio Banario. So we were having the podcast in a cafe at the Badarong Cafe. It was started, I think, at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and the light is still good. The light is still angled in a way that we are well lighted. And then, so we started the podcast, and then I noticed during the end of the podcast, because I think we had like a 1 hour 30 minute podcast. During the end, like around an hour and 10, something like that, I noticed in the monitor that we are already invisible in the camera because the angle of the light changed, and I don't have time to fix it. I'm a little bit shy to ask him to, can we stop for a while, because that will also, for me, that will also destroy the flow of the conversation when I will say, can we stop for a while just to fix the angle of the camera. So I just leave it as is. I mean, just leave it like that. And you know, when I was creating a reel, I tried to overexpose it, and it's not good. So I think the reel is still there. Yeah. Um. Yeah. Those are the things that you will encounter as a one-man show. uh, does it bother me that does it? I mean, does it affect the way I talk to people sometimes when I'm the one I'm monitoring and then monitoring the video and the audio while having conversation? Yeah, it does. It does. At times I cannot concentrate in the conversation, but as time goes by, you will learn how to do that, and it would be it would be like it will become a second nature. Yeah, after doing that for more than you know more than 20 times, I already get the hang of it. So it's okay with me now. But like I said a while ago, at times you have these mistakes, like not checking if you're really recording the audio or not. A while ago, I was looking at that monitor and I see that okay, the video is good, so it means my cell phone is working. But I never noticed that there was no audio at all. I don't. So I have to record again. Yeah. So why is the format so long, especially in the conversation? Um, I don't like to break the flow of the conversation. And at times, when we started, especially like I said a while ago, that people here are not familiar with podcast. Every time that they see it's a show that is being posted, they will think of it like it's an interview, and they will act very formal, and it I will be having hard time putting them at ease, like I need to have them in a conversation mode, and that's very difficult. There are some of my guests, especially some of my guests are like that. Especially the ones that are working in a radio station. It's very difficult to put them in a conversation mode. They will always have their radio voice, like the reason why I do this one is because, and it's not normal for me. It's not normal for me to, so I have to put them at ease, and that usually takes 30 minutes, 40 minutes before we can have a nice flow of conversation that can at least go 2 hours, 3 hours. Yeah, something like that. So that's the reason why the format is long. For the solo podcast, it depends. I can get to like 20 minutes and 20 minutes. And then if I think I'm done talking or I cannot think of things that I will say, then I will cut it off. But at times like this, that I'm already in the flow, in this zone of talking to myself. So Yeah, just keep it going and going. So no format at all. That is why I will not work on a radio station. There was this one radio station that I worked with last time, this RPN, and the manager, Mr. Joel Cervantes, is asking if I can do a program there, but then, I would never fit in a radio station. I don't know, maybe uh, there's the rule and there's the guidelines, and of course, yeah, the time and the revenue stream of it. So that's why I did not accept it, and mainly because I think I would not fit in a radio station. Yeah. Who is the guest that made me nervous? Um, the guest that made me nervous. I think so far from episode 1 to 100 is the Honorable Mayor Attorney Frenzel Ayong. He is the guest that made me nervous. I'm a, and also I was adamant of asking him. Just yeah, just I mean, it's like for me, it's a hit and miss. I just ask him, and if he said yes, then it's good. If he said no, then it's good. So I just did it, not really expecting if he's gonna accept or not. Now, when he accepted my offer, my invitation for him to be a guest in the podcast, I was so nervous because he is a mayor and a lawyer, and am I going to the first question that I had during that time is, am I going to embarrass myself? But then I thought that anyways, this is a conversation, so why would I be nervous, right? So I went to their house. I don't have a studio, so every time that I have a guest in the podcast, I go to their place, or we set a place where we will meet and then have our podcast there. So I went to his place, and what eased me up is that what made me relaxed is he is very welcoming when I went there. Very welcoming, very down to earth person. So that made me at feel at ease, and then made me in the zone of having conversation. So I think in the conversation, I think the conversation went well. I learned a lot from him, and during the conversation, I really saw his passion of um, dreaming. I mean, his passion of trying to um, contribute some improvements for his town, and yeah, that's one of the greatest highlight I think of this greatest highlight of this podcast is me having a conversation with him. And the first one I think also is where I made a mistake on the framing of the video, because if I look at it now, we are so far, we're very small in the video. I could have made the camera closer to us so that it would be a better view. We're very far. We are not. I mean, we're so small in the camera that I don't like to look at it now. But the conversation is good. I really like it and I really enjoyed it. Mm, uh, I think that's the second one, the one that we used in the introduction. If you find an inspiration in this thing that we have done, then you have done your noble part. That one, I got that from our second conversation, and yeah, the highlight of this podcast. I had him twice in this podcast, and I'm looking forward to having him again. Another one is the podcast I had with the Honorable Counselor Baludo Itatanes. That one is also a little bit nerve wracking for me because that's the first time that I had a conversation with a politician. Yeah, back then he was a barangay captain in our place. He was planning to run as a counselor. Now it is his third term as a counselor. So yeah, it's also nerve wracking. But then I learned a lot from him, and that I think that particular episode of this podcast is the one where I broke, and the second one also is the one with the Honorable Captain Ambino Padaway. Yeah, those two episodes were the ones where I broke the my rule of not editing, because I edited those ones just to look as a YouTube content, like a video content. So I edited them hard. That went against my rule of no editing. Just take it, record it, and post it. So anyway, great conversations with them too. The ones I enjoyed are the ones with my friends. With John Irvin, with also had the conversation, the three of us with Mr. Ryan Espinosa, teacher in Mankayan, and we had great conversations, talk about our work as teachers, and of course, enlightening ones are the ones that I had with the singers, singers in our locality. We had Sendong Talao twice in this podcast. We have Swing, and we have Andrew Paulino. We have those people. And of course, the one also that I have learned a lot is the one with Honorio Banario, Harold Banario, and the latest is the one with uh, Mr. or Professor Gibran Langbayan. Um, I think that made me really, uh, really get my interest in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I did try Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu back then with I encountered one of my students back then in Manila who are practitioners of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but my conversation with Gabriel Langbayan, or Professor Gabriel, or made me interested with the BJJ again. And Professor Gabriel Langbayan is because I think no one's refuting this one, but I think he is the very first Igorot um black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is not new here. I think in our locality we have seen it in TV, in the social media, but uh, the, to have a local teach us that kind of art is something that is new. So yeah, um, for those who are interested, you can always visit the GL or Gibran Langbayan's Jiu-Jitsu in Magsaysay, Baguio City. I forgot the name of the place. Yeah, I don't have I don't have my phone right now to search on the name of the place. Anyway, so those are the people that I had conversations with, and I'm planning to have more. Um, what's gonna change now? I don't think there will be some changes. No, I will continue doing this, um, posting conversations, having conversations with great people, learning from them, and I'll be also recording, uh, my thoughts on the matters, on things that's happening now, and also sharing the researches of histories, that's unheard histories. I mean, of Igorot Nation, as I call it. Uh, Nothing's gonna change. hmm Uh, Maybe the frequency of recording the podcast will change. I'd be recording more now. I promise to. Do you have some people that you want to talk to? Yeah, I had a lot. I have a lot. I have a lot. Starting with Sir Glenn Penduges of Schools Division of Benguet. a retired you personnel of SDO Benguet. Also, our PSDS here in La Trinidad. I want to talk to Attorney Mauricio Dumungan, and I want him to share his experiences also. I want to talk to my friends who just passed the bar exam for lawyers 2, 3 years ago. Want I want him to share struggles as he tried to get his law degree. I want to talk to the mayor right now of Baguio City, General Benjamin Magalong. Want to talk to uh, the face of the Philippine MMA, Edward Landslide Fulayan, and want to learn about the struggles that he had starting as a martial artist until he reached that the place where he is right now. Want to talk to um the owner of Eagle Stone Kingdom, just right here, and to some of the singers here in our locality. I want to talk to the pioneer of recording music videos, a singer, composer, engineer Paul Masilam, the man behind this song Bigis Ka, Bigis. What are those songs? He has a lot of compositions. When I talk to him, actually we have tried to set it up, but our schedule does not meet. And actually, the last time I asked him is that I think he said he has a lot of backlogs. So hopefully we can have that in the future. I want to talk to the congressman of Baguio and Benguet. I want to talk to the congressman of Benguet, Eric Yap. Those people and learn from them. The reason for the conversation is to learn from them and to understand the way of their thinking. Yeah. So, um, do you do you choose? How do you choose your audience? As long as I'm interested in them, I can have them here. You know, there are times that some of my uh, acquaintances or my friends suggest some guest. Uh, there are some suggested guests here, the police COPs of Abatan. Those ones, and still, it's a good conversation with them, understanding their leadership, the way they lead their man. It's a good conversation also. So, you know, um, I can't I can't remember if uh, yeah, I think I want to talk to a lot of people, and it's the thing that I enjoy a lot when I meet with friends, we talk, and that's how uh, that's how we learn things by through talking. Back in 2016, the one that ignited back my interest in pursuing this one is when we are having conversation with one of my friend, uh, John Irvin Kissing. We were having conversation. It was very long conversation, and I'm enjoying it. And that's when I remembered, oh my goodness, yeah, I have my podcast. Why not record this one and upload it? So I asked him if we can record it, and then we recorded it again. So the topic that we were talking way before we recorded the conversation is we just repeated it back, and then but the thing is, the feeling's not there already. It's different. It's different. It's like it's like we're just acting already. We talked about coaching and stuff, and it's not natural when I'm looking at it right now. It's a little bit rehearsed in my view because we already talked about the topic and then we're just talking about it again just to record it and I don't like that to happen again. So you know, I want every conversations I want it to be recorded. The heaviest most emotional, I think that um, podcast or conversations I had in this podcast is the one with my mom. My father just died during that time, and we were sitting at the house, and I asked my mom, "Can we record this one?" And let's talk about that, about how you met, about your struggle when you were starting a family, and in the future we can use this one to look back and okay, maybe use it as a guide. I told my mom, and then he agreed. She agreed. Was the That was so fresh. We just buried my dad like a day after we took the podcast. It's a little bit heavy for me. Uh, but then it's like when it's like a celebration of life, of my dad's life. It's like we celebrated his life, like remembering him during that time. And yeah, uh, you I can add the one I had with my sister also. A conversation I had about our dad, remembering him. Uh, the remembering the last time we talked to our dad, that was the heaviest one for me. And still, it's a conversation where we can, you know, it's it's a conversation we want to bring out our emotion, and we just it just happened that we recorded it in a podcast, so mm, that's there's that. The things that I learned doing this podcast is, I think I learned to think while talking because usually I don't have a script on this thing here for this thing. I don't do scripts. I have some bullet points that I outline, and sometimes I look at it from time to time, but at times I just ad lib and just go with the flow of whatever I think, whatever comes to my mind, and then just say it. I learned to think and I learned to organize the program as a whole while already recording it. So there's that. I learned that here at the same time. So I'm doing a lot of things here. At the same time, monitoring how it looks. At the same time, looking if it's really recording because at times, yeah, it's not recording or it's stopped. Yeah, monitoring the sound if they're not picking, something like that. So, yeah, that I learned it from doing this podcast here. I learned to use English language as a communication tool and use it. I mean, yeah, I can say I can say that I improved my English doing this podcast. I can say that. So yeah, it helped me a lot. Um, Learnings. I learned how to use a lot of softwares. I learned how to use um OBS Studio. I learned how to use um the what was that? I forgot the sound cleaner software. I forgot. I'm sorry. I learned how to use that. The reason I forget is I'm not using it right now, but I learned how to use that because of my podcast. I learned how to use the RSS feeds, things like that. A lot of things because of this podcast. So it taught me a lot of things, not just in terms of speaking. I learned how to open up conversations. It's conversations, not just conversation of it really it taught me this podcast taught me how to start it, how to go on a serious matter slowly, things like that. Of course, I do make mistakes and still learning, but I know I still have a lot of I still need to learn a lot of things, but those are the things that this podcast has taught me by far. So yeah, and I'll be learning a lot as I continue to do this. Do I have a plan to stop this? No, I don't think so. it's get it's doing well. It's and I'm enjoying it. So maybe I will stop doing it if I don't enjoy doing it anymore. So this is a part of like taking care of my mental health. It's helping me a lot. It's helping me with my learning, and it's helping me think, reflect. So I don't think I would stop doing this. I would stop doing it if I stop enjoying it. So this will go on. um, what else? Yeah, that's it. 100 episode. Who would have thought? 100 episode after 9 years. 9 years. Yeah, it took that long. Yeah, I never even noticed that when I recorded the first one. I never even noticed that it's been 9 years. It's been 9 years. So yeah, maybe frequency that needed to be changed. We need to record as much as we can now, so that it won't. So that we will reach episode 200, right? Like after a year or 2 years, something like that. Yeah. So the goal now is to get to 150 and have more conversations with people. And we have a lot of genius people here. I mean, intelligent people, successful people here in Benguet and in the Cordilleras that we want to talk to. Um, so I'll try my best to talk to them using this podcast. The one that the one that I didn't have the opportunity to talk to is Mayor Gabino. Oh my goodness, I forgot Mayor Gabino Gang. The mayor of Sadanga, former mayor of Sadanga. Oh, yeah, that's a missed opportunity. I didn't have time to talk to him before he passed away. May God bless his soul. So yeah, a missed opportunity for this podcast to talk to him and yeah, have his knowledge be shared to those who are listening. Uh, and by the way, I cannot end this one without saying thank you to everyone who is listening. I was surprised that because when I started this one, I really don't care if somebody's gonna be listening or not, and I thought if there will be listeners, it will be only here in Baguio City or in the Philippines, especially when I was starting back in 2014. But then I was surprised to see the data from the Spotify that there are some people who are listening in or who are listening in Singapore, Hong Kong, Thailand, yeah, and Canada. There are some people listening in Canada, and maybe in Canada that is possible because there are a lot of immigrants are living in Canada, and maybe they miss the language of their. I mean, they miss the language here. That's why a lot of them are listening in the conversations. Especially the conversations that we had in the local language in my dialect. A lot of them are listening to that one, and also to my reflections. People, there are some people listening in uh, Cambodia, things like that. It's a surprising, yeah, it's surprising information for me, and I thank all my listeners. Thank you for listening. Those who are listening in Spotify, I apologize. The audio is not that good, but you're still listening, so I thank you and apologize for that one. Um, I'm trying to make it work. I'm trying to make it better, and thank you for staying with me, and thank you for witnessing. I mean, witnessing. Oh my goodness, that's the accent again. Witnessing the change and the development that I'm having through this podcast. And let's have this journey of discovery and sharing and conversations together. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And again, this is El Maestro Speaks saying thank you. And again, I'm inviting you to join me with this self-discovery through this podcast and self-development. Let's go through this together.